Holy Saturday. When I was young, we used to call it Black Saturday to signify the darkness that Jesus experienced, the darkness that wrapped him when he was laid in his tomb, and the rock was rolled to cover the entrance. And there was no more light inside. And it was also darkness for those who followed him, his disciples, those who loved him, those who have been with him and have come to make him a part of their lives. What could have been coming in their mind? What could have been in their mind? They must have been lost, you know. For some of them, they would think Jesus left us. For some, Jesus abandoned us. Jesus failed us. And for most of them, if not all, we are all alone and we are lost. We are confused. We don't know what to do. This doesn't make sense. Have you ever seen someone who've lost the love of his or her life? It's like they've gone crazy. You know, people who are the best at doing something end up making a lot of mistakes, end up losing the joy and the vigor in their life when someone that they hold dearest in their life dies. But it is different with Jesus because Jesus promised his apostles that they will not be alone. And Jesus was someone they could trust. And more than that, Jesus was someone they've come to know as someone from God. Maybe at that time they still haven't realized that Jesus was the second person of the Trinity. Or maybe they did. But the point is, they knew that this person who promised to be with them, to never leave them alone, is someone they can trust because he is someone who can actually mean what he said. The church teaches us, it's in its rich teaching on prayer and spirituality, that we should all undergo a dark night, that we should all undergo a period wherein Jesus, God, seems to have disappeared. And it's very consistent. Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross, Ignatius, and all the other saints teach us that as we grow in our faith, as we grow in our relationship with God, there will always be a time when the dark night will come to us, when darkness will envelop us, in the same way that darkness enveloped his disciples on this Black Saturday, this Holy Saturday. But why? Why? Why would God want us to go through that pain? Why would God want us to go through that feeling of being alone? That feeling that it seems God has disappeared from our lives. So that we will grow. So that we can conquer darkness. Because once we enter it, we can live through it, and we can conquer it, and we can go out with Jesus in our Easter. But what does that mean? If you will look at my video on prayer, and you can look at the playlist section of my channel and go to video, I explain spirituality as something that's exactly the same as the levels of relationship. You know, you start up as strangers, you come to know each other, you become close friends, you become lovers. And as you grow, there will come a time wherein you will love the person, not just because it feels good, but because it is the only thing that makes sense for you. How do you think marriages last? Of course, there will always be time when the husband and the wife would always love each other. But how about those times when you don't feel good, when you don't feel excited, and you still choose to love your spouse because it makes the most sense for you. Our darkness does that for us. God seemingly disappears from our presence so that we can choose to love Him, not because it feels good, not because it excites us, not because our feelings get heightened, but because it is what our choice is. It is because we decide to give our lives to Jesus. Mother Teresa experienced the same thing. In fact, Mother Teresa's experience is quite unique because she experienced it for almost 50 years. And reading through her diaries, they found out that Mother Teresa felt like God was nowhere, like God disappeared. But her love grew. Her love continued to grow, and she was madly in love with God. That she didn't care that her object of affection seemed to not be going back to her, not responding to her, not reaching out to her. And that is where her faith, her holiness grew significantly. Because at that point, she was able to give God herself totally without really asking anything in return other than to really express her love. Was it painful? Yes, it is painful. But once we come to realize the fruits of that suffering, that dark night, that sacrifice, then that is when we will see that indeed our God really didn't leave us. Because let us not forget what follows Holy Saturday. The light of Easter, the light of resurrection, came to the disciples, came to the apostles, came to those who love Jesus. And it comes to us. If you're serious about your faith, you will experience darkness. Or maybe you are experiencing this darkness right now, or what others call a desert, a feeling of dryness. I don't feel God. It's like my prayers aren't working. Well, that means you are growing. That means God is recognizing your love, and He wants to challenge you to make it grow. So accept that darkness, live through it, go through it, and trust that God really has not left you. Because one of the very great gifts of going through that darkness is growing our trust. That even though it doesn't make sense, even though we don't feel it, even though it seems that all is lost, God still loves us. God still takes care of us. And God continues to give us life and meaning.